course not.
Come on, Lily. Who are you gonna believe, that lip-lock liar or your best friend?
Welcome back, Disney Channel fans. Today we're taking a nostalgic deep dive into one of my favorite shows, Hannah Montana, and her journey from its breakout debut in season 1 and to its iconic second season. Not only did this transition mark major changes in the show itself, but it also reflected a pivotal moment for Disney Channel as a whole. From fresh character dynamic to a shifting tone, new storylines, and behind-the-scenes transformations, Hannah Montana was a show that evolved with its audience, shaping the future of teen television, especially as we make our way to the second season. So we did the season 1 in 2006 when Hannah Montana first broke into the scene, and Disney Channel also had some success with That's So Raven, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, but Hannah Montana took things to like a new level. The show, which starred Miley Cyrus as Hannah Montana and Miley Stewart, who was a regular teenager living a secret double life, quickly captured the imagination of young audiences. And the concept was fresh and fun, but let's face it, who didn't dream of having a secret double life as a famous pop star? So the first season was an instant hit, especially with characters like Lily, Oliver, Billy Ray, and then we start to see them a lot more as the merchandise flew off the shelves, and soon enough, Miley Cyrus was a global sensation. As the Hannah Montana grew in popularity, so did the pressure to keep the show fresh. So season 2 rolling around in 2007, things were changing both in front and behind the camera. The transition between season 1 and 2 brought noticeable shifts in the show's tones and storylines. While season 1 leaned into the more comedic misunderstandings and lighthearted adventures, I think season 2 began to introduce more emotionally complex stakes. Miley's relationships, particularly with Jake Ryan, which will become a focal point as we start to go into the 2-part episode later, it set the stage for more dramatic storylines that resonated with older audiences that were also growing up alongside Miley Stewart, especially those entering high schools. Another key difference was the introduction of the more music-centric episodes. While music had always been a part of the show, season 2 saw more original music integrated into the storylines. Like the episodes I Want You to Want Me, To Go to Florida, and Song Sung Bad, we saw performances that blurred the lines between Hannah Montana and Miley, especially with the Hannah Montana 2 album coming out, which was such a exciting staple to introduce Miley to the world just as much as Hannah Montana. The show was no longer just a secret identity. It was about trying to manage relationships, responsibilities, and the price of fame. So Miley Cyrus was undergoing significant changes. By the end of season 1, it was clear she wasn't just a Disney star. She was on the verge of being a full-fledged musician, and the show's producers began to craft storylines that would cater to Miley's growing fan base, not just as a character, but like as a real-life sensation. The music became a crucial element to the show's marketing too, with the concerts beginning to draw a massive crowd. They had the Hannah Montana Miley Cyrus Best of Both Worlds tour in late 2007, which actually solidified music outside of the show being real. The synergy between the fictional character and Miley's real-life career was like such a big deal. The success also brought new challenges, though. Her intense workload began to draw so much attention, and this young star had to balance a hit show, a music career, and a growing public image. So Disney, we all know that it got even more complicated as we go to season 3 and 4. Disney was careful to ensure Miley's personal brand aligned with the wholesome image of Hannah Montana thus far. The transition from season 1 to 2 didn't just impact the show, it reflected a broader audience evolution happening at Disney Channel. Around the same time, the network was capitalizing on its success of teen-targeted content, but the competition was starting to heat up, like Jonas Brothers emerging into pop culture powerhouses, High School Musical taking the world by storm, and then also High School Musical 2 alongside Hannah Montana Season 2 in 2007, and that also broke records with over 17 million viewers. This marked a significant shift in Disney Channel's focus, and music became a bigger part of the strategy. Hannah Montana was at the center of this charge, merging narrative television with music-driven content before shows like Camp Rock and Jonas would eventually hit the airwaves. And at the same time, Disney Channel was refining its star-making machine. Like, Miley Cyrus wasn't just a character on a hit show. She was the face of a multimedia empire complete with concerts, soundtracks, and merchandise. And then this would eventually happen to Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez, which you could hear more about in the other videos about Disney Channel. And by the time season 2 premiered, Hannah Montana, just a fun Disney Channel show. The viewership numbers skyrocketed by the second season of Hannah Montana on Disney Channel. It pulled in over 7 million viewers at the premiere. which is a staggering number for cable TV in general. The fandom was stronger than ever, and the world was captivated by Miley's double life. And the transition from 1 to 2 also marked the beginning of Miley Cyrus's evolution. The show would continue to grow its audience, and the second season paved the way for more personal, emotional storylines, digging deeper into the character development, and of course, the more iconic music moments. It was a time of change for Hannah Montana and Disney Channel, and it set the stage for the show's continued success and eventual conclusion, but, we're not there yet. So let's start diving into Season 2 of Hannah Montana.
See what you can do about that. Bukarkovsky entrapment. Clever, Rico.
Okay, so let's start off Season 2. So we got Season 2, Episode 1, Me and Rico Down by the Schoolyard, which is a play on the word Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard, the Paul Simon song. Miley urges everybody at her concert to get excited for the beginning of the school year, and herself reluctantly does not want to get up on her first day of high school.
Get the water bucket.
He wouldn't.
Oh, yes, he would. So she's starting to attend Seaview High School, saying goodbye to the middle school, and Lily discovers that Miley brought her teddy bear, causing her to overreact, asking Miley what this would do to her reputation. So we understand that reputation is really important to these girls.
Seen it. Now, would you zip him back up, please? Fine. None of the way. He's afraid of the dark.
And she receives an anonymous text on her cell phone that says somebody knows her secret and has a picture to prove it, with no context at all. See, this is interesting, especially in the early technology days when people didn't really know how to research each other or figure out who was a catfish. This is a very early catfish episode. Miley and Lily are instantly worried and believe that Oliver's behind this, but when they find him, he realizes he didn't do it either, and he gets a mysterious message from the person again. Lily narrows it down to anybody texting Miley and looks around to see that everybody is texting, which is so accurate to this time.
That narrows it down to everybody.
They definitely think that it's about the Hannah Montana secret and that this person knows that she's Hannah Montana and will tell the whole school. Miley finds out that it was Rico who sent the message as he becomes the new student in her class. Yeah, Rico's back this season and he's not just on the beach.
Hiya, Toots. Got my messages?
Message to all freshman boys, do not use the term toots when describing a female counterpart. Which this guy is really confident. In exchange for not exposing her quote-unquote secret, he asks her to pretend to be his girlfriend, where she is basically humiliated all day.
A new penny in the piggy bank of my heart. What can I say? She's crazy in love. Cheese me.
Lily and Oliver try to get Rico's cell phone while Miley pretends to be Rico's girlfriend, and they find out that his locker is guarded by a monkey. So Oliver starts fighting this monkey to try to get to his cell phone. Miley ends up saying that Rico's gonna hold the secret over her forever, and that if he wants to send the picture, she'd let him because it's nothing worse than dating him, which is, whoa.
Sure, they'll know my secret, but they'll also know what a pathetic loser you are.
Dang, Rico. Rico picks up the phone and says he was always the smallest in his class and nobody ever liked him, so he just wanted to be liked. So Miley feels sorry for him, ends up kissing him on the cheek, but he turns his head and actually makes her kiss him on the lips, which is, oh my god, Rico, you're not allowed to do that. Not nice. He screams, he shoots, he scores, and Miley gives him a mad look, saying he's toast, and she chases him away. Oliver then looks at the picture and realized that it wasn't about her being Hannah Montana. It was that he had a picture of Miley with her teddy bear on the first day of school. In the subplot, Jackson finally makes a friend, which isn't that guy Cooper from the first season, but this new country guy from Minnesota, Thor, who's a little too friendly and won't leave Jackson alone. And Thor just continues to embarrass Jackson in chemistry class, and
you two should sit together, and I'll sit any place else.
But I have marshmallows.
Jackson tells Robbie about this, and Robbie reminds him that he was once the country bumpkin that went to high school at Seaview, thus prompting Jackson to give him a second chance. And then as he's going back to his friend group, he notices that people start to make fun of him for the same reason, and he decides to stand up for him and choose Thor over his old friends. He said that Thor was just trying to make friends. I like that they weaved Jackson and Rico into the main plots a lot more by having them attend the same high school. I'm sure it was inevitable, but it was definitely perfect for the story to have them be more involved in the central plot. Or at least be, around each other in the same locations. In order to establish Miley and her friend's entry to high school, the Disney Channel premiered this episode along with 4 others in that week, calling it the Hannah Montana's Freshman High Five, and it still placed the number 12 in the United States for 3.52 million viewers. During the credits, Oliver goes up to Rico's locker where the monkey is selling snow cones to the cast, to everybody in the school, which is kind of funny. During gym class with Mrs. McDermott, Miley is tired of being picked last every time for teams and being nicknamed Stinky, which, relatable. The other captain, Lily's rival since 2nd grade, Joni Palumbo, starts to boast about how she's better than Lily and can't be beaten.
That winning captain gets to give losing captain a little haircut.
When Lily's selected as one of the captains for flag football, Miley thinks that she's finally going to be picked first.
Wow, isn't it funny how it always comes down to the 2 of us?
When the teams are picked, Miley's left for last. In return, Miley shuns Lily after a concert, and the 2 girls refuse to talk to each other.
Love the little backstabbing quip. So funny. That wasn't about me, was it?
Of course not. I know I can always count on.
And in the subplot, Robbie Ray gives Jackson the silent treatment until he's done with his chores.
Come on, Dad, I apologize. You want me to mean it too? Yes.
So the Jackson subplots were mundane at best, with a couple of really funny jokes, but I am not lying when I tell you this is the most disgusting plot in all of Disney Channel. Jackson is so disgusting that the entire sink is overcrowded, and there are so many gross things that happen in this. Miley later learns that she has won a country music award, a booty, for the song True Friend, which is a disgusting name for an award. And without her best friend to tell, she goes to Oliver.
I have amazing news.
So do I.
My mom made a detective and gave me her old handcuffs.
Miley and Oliver run over to Lily at the beach, and the girls fight over which person Oliver will be friends with.
You know, big, huge, nasty guy sharks.
Are you wearing a clear polish?
It's called Buff. Like me. Let's go.
So Oliver handcuffs the girls until they're friends again. When Miley argues that she has a live speech that night to accept her award, Oliver relents but cannot find the key to unlock the girls.
But if it weren't for your stupid booty, it totally would have worked.
Tell me you didn't lose the
I
key.
didn't lose the key.
Oliver!
Okay, I lost it.
Miley and Lily then get ready for a speech when Oliver goes to his mother's to find a spare key. So before the speech, Oliver is able to unlock the girls, but the key breaks.
Except the key breaking.
I hate when he says, uh-oh.
So during her speech, Miley needs to use Lily's arms while Lily crouches behind the chair. And during the speech, the 2 girls realize the meaning of friendship and make up after the award. This one is so funny with Oliver because we really get a better sense of his personality, the fact that he kind of acts without thinking. And there's a lot of empathy there, he really cares about his friends. When it needs to happen, he's pretty there for them. So this one's called You Are So Suable to Me. The title is a reference to the song by Joe Cocker, You Are So Beautiful to Me. So Miley gets annoyed with Lily's constant tomboy behavior and decides to get Lily a more 9th grade girl look with just a few small changes.
Oh, no dates? Well, don't feel bad. There'll be more dances. Unless global warming kills us first. Bye!
Lily's crush, Matt, played by Bubba Lewis, asks her out to the dance on Friday, which Miley can't attend because she's having a concert.
Come here often?
Of course he does. It's cool.
So are you going?
And Lily sees Amber and Ashley flirting with Matt later and realizes she needs to compete with them. Miley turns her from a skate chick to a date chick, which has to be a little misogynistic, dressing and acting in an exaggeratedly feminine manner.
Oh, I got it.
Which everybody except Matt likes. The night of the dance, Lily is heartbroken because Matt stands her up, and she spends the night at Miley's house, and the next morning she is completely miserable.
It was our pleasure, Lily.
Lily, that's what Matt called me. Dad,
That's her name.
think a little.
Miley takes Lily and Matt to teen court, in which people who have dumped them are found guilty. When Matt and Lily, who has Miley as her lawyer, enter teen court, which, by the way, Miley being a lawyer is one of the funniest personas she takes on in the entire show. I mean, look at this speech.
What if Abraham Lincoln promised to save the Union, but broke that promise because he wanted to buy a new hat.
Come here.
I know what you're thinking. How does she do it without any notes?
Things likely go their way until Matt gives his defense. Matt explains he stood Lily up because Lily changed. He liked the old Lily, not the girly girl that Miley convinced her to become, and the two make up. In the end, Miley is found guilty for interfering with the relationship, and despite her refusal to believe it's her fault, she gets spaghetti and meat dumped on her.
Ooh, that is some spanky justice. Case closed.
The growing dependency of Miley and Lily's relationship is so complex in this season. Like, we're at 2 back-to-back episodes that involve them being a little bit toxic and or resolving to each other, but I love how complex their relationship is. It just shows, like, how you could come into a lot of disagreements and change for one another, even, like, friends, not as much as relationships. And I don't know, it's just a really cool representation of friendships like that. Meanwhile, Jackson has won 2 courtside seats to the Lakers game, and he invites Thor, but accidentally invites Robbie also.
Who cares if your boy got into Harvard? My boy's taking me to a Laker game. Yep, courtside seats.
Eventually, Jackson gets stuck in the middle and can't decide between Thor or Robbie. So Jackson purposely tries to smell bad and come across as disgusting, so that way Robbie wouldn't want to go anymore.
What? It's like fate. Him just showing up here like I invited him, which, of course, I didn't.
So he trades his 2 courtside seats in for 3 next to the speaker at the back seats.
Dad, save the popcorn!
This episode's very similar to the iCarly episode I Make Sam Girlier, and this is Amber and Ashley's first appearance in this season. This next episode really bothered me for the longest time just because of the study song they sing in it. I just remember it coming on my TV and it's kind of traumatic. Episode 4 of season 2 is called Get Down, Study Uddy Uddy. This is a parody of the song Boogie Oogie Oogie from A Taste of Honey.
How would you handle this, Miley?
Well, as much as it pains me, I'd have to say, no grades, no Europe. Then again, what do I know? I'm just a kid.
Miley is expected to go on her European tour as Hannah Montana until her biology grade slips and her father threatens to cancel the tour. That's crazy. You cancel a probably $1 million tour just because somebody got a bad grade?
Done. Here you go, Teach. Sorry I took so long. I just wanted to double check my answers.
To go on the tour, she has to get a good grade on her midterm, so she asks Rico to tutor her. In return, he has her dress up in an elaborate 18th century costume to hold up a globe so he could paint a picture of it.
What's this? An A+.
What was I here for?
I needed someone to hold the globe.
He tells her that his secret to success is his photographic memory, which doesn't help Miley. Able to remember through song and dance routines like Hannah Montana, she creates a song and dance routine based on Nobody's Perfect about the bones in the human body, which she needs to memorize.
No talking. Oaken?
Yes, ma'am.
I said no talking.
So while taking the test, she finds out that she needs to go through the dance motions in order to remember it, but Miss Kunkel notices this and makes her stop, thinking she's sending signals over to cheat, which is, I would just assume that this person is having a seizure in the middle of my class. I wouldn't give her the negative benefit of the doubt. Later with time running out, Oliver attempts to divert the teacher's attention by stimulating a nosebleed so that Miley can move through the dance motions, but
Sure, that's what it is. Look, everyone.
the teacher notices Miley anyway and sends her to the principal's. Miley then saves herself by performing the full song and dance routine in the class called the Bone Dance. And everybody joins in, and the teacher's so impressed she gives Miley an A.
Stuart, I'm going to get the principal. What? I want you to show him that dance. It's the best study technique I've ever seen.
Why is the teacher impressed with the dance after the fact that they moved all the desks, made room, and then everybody learned the choreography? There shouldn't have been any anticipation that Miley was in trouble when really everybody seemed to like the dance. I don't know why there would be a risk here. Look at this, like the entire classroom is made to be a stage. You're telling me that you're not committed to it already? The subplot involves Jackson keeping Thor's parrot, and Jackson is tutoring a girl he's interested in Spanish.
Berkey with the bad breath.
Why is he saying that?
The bird begins repeating insults it heard Thor say that involves this girl's name, so it keeps repeating it as Jackson is about to kiss her. Back at the school, the bird continues to cause trouble for Jackson and
You stupid bird brain.
Morning, Stuart.
Stupid bird brain.
Detention, Stuart.
It wasn't even me. It was.
Jackson tells it to drop dead, and it does. The horrified Jackson attempts to revive it, and Thor arrives, so Jackson tries to hide the bird, but is soon forced to reveal what happened. When Thor takes the bird, it's revealed that it was only playing dead. I just love how... I like how this season really focuses on Jackson's attempt to make a friend, and it seems like through Thor, he's really forced to look at himself and be less of a jerk than he was in the first season. Like, the first season, Jackson was kind of rude, and this Jackson seems to be, like, letting more room in for love, I guess. Next is I Am Hannah, Hear Me Croak. The title is a reference to the song I Am Woman by Helen Reddy, including the lyric I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar. It's a commentary on it. Hannah has too many encores at one concert, so her voice is strained and she wakes up the next day and her voice is gone. Robbie Ray suggests that she doesn't talk for a week and uses a whiteboard to write out what she wants to say.
Wow, a week without talking. You know, that's gotta be tough for a girl. Now, guys, we're different. I don't need to talk. I can not talk for a month, wouldn't bother me at all. But girls, talk. Hey, Sally, nice caprice. Oh, I love your purse. Oh, no, that's just rude.
I'm pretty sure this trope was copied into all high school theater. It's a tradition that during Tech Week you try to save your voice for the performance, so you use a whiteboard or you use another way of communicating while you're on vocal rest. And I really don't know if Hannah Montana took it from high school theater or vice versa, but I wouldn't be surprised if high school theater just copied that.
All right, we could go to the movies or something? I got this one for you. In your dreams, a Poindexter. We're playing hard to get.
So during that week, Lily and Oliver accidentally try to help Miley, but unintentionally embarrass her instead. It's really funny watching them do all these things. Like, these moments are really funny. After a week, her voice is better and she's able to sing at our concert. She sings fine until one point in her song, Life's What You Make It, she starts singing badly, and it's decided that Miley really needs to see a doctor. So Principal Franklin from iCarly goes to college again and gets a PhD for some reason. The doctor explains that Miley needs to preserve her singing career as Hannah Montana. In order to do that, she needs to undergo a small surgery for it. The doctor and Robbie both try to assure Robbie that she's in good hands, and the doctor performing the surgery is one of the best doctors in the country, and that nothing is going to go wrong, but Miley still worries. While she's sleeping that night, she has a nightmare that her voice doesn't get better, and her singing career's gone, and then nobody cares about her anymore.
Thought I told you to iron these socks. You know how I like a nice crease in my hosiery.
Sorry, Daddy. I'm still cleaning the oven.
Is reduced to the position of a poorly treated servant girl, table, and coat rack, while Jackson becomes a rock star called Bucky Kentucky and receives all of Lily and Oliver's attention, which is so funny. And we finally get a glimpse of Miley and Jackson's late mother, played by Brooke Shields, who then appears in the dream and tells her that her friends will be there for her no matter what, since they were friends with her before she was Hannah Montana. Her friends and brother come back into the dream and reassure her as well, with Jackson reminding her that he's a terrible singer and overall isn't as musically talented as she is. Robbie comes back into the dream as well, and Miley's talking to Jackson and the others when Mrs. Stewart is mad at her husband during the dream. Robbie had given some hot chocolate to her right before bed, and his wife bothers him for it. In the end, Miley has a surgery done, and her career of Hannah Montana is ultimately saved. But this is a really cool episode to actually address fear that goes in with, like, having surgery or, like, being taken away from something you quote-unquote love. But really, it's about, like, putting yourself above your work and your passion in times of crisis. Like, Miley, like, struggles to find her identity outside of Hannah Montana, and it's really cool that we kind of go backwards in Miley's progression to kind of get a glimpse into her deeper insecurities. Like, this episode really shows how complex Miley is and the double life's effects on her psychology. And I'm just so happy this episode exists because it's really interesting. although it does bring up a question that is about 30 episodes too late, which is, how does she do these concerts? Like, usually if you're a singer, you go on tour and then you do multiple concerts, but Miley for some reason is able to get away with staying in her hometown, having an occasional concert when she's not really releasing any new music. And I guess we're all just supposed to assume that that all the fans are within her area? If I were in the Hannah Montana fan base, I would feel really ripped off. Like, just imagine, like, in only the same venue, too. Well, I mean, I guess there's some different venues, but some of the venues are the same. That's enough to peeve me. So You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party, the 6th episode of Hannah Montana. This title is an obvious reference to the Beastie Boys song, You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party. Miley and Jackson have to fight over water usage in the bathroom, and they break the plumbing in both of them. Robbie calls for a repairman, but he's only there to fix Miley's bathroom, saying that Jackson's will be fixed in a few weeks. Robbie has Miley and Jackson share the bathroom until it's fixed. During this time, they fight over the space, and Jackson uses Miley's bras to hold his toiletries and picking his nose hairs with tweezers. This is how I imagine having a sister would be, even though I've never had one. I just can imagine fighting over things like this. During this time, Miley almost wipes her face with Jackson's underwear, and Miley spits toothpaste on Jackson's neck. This episode actually gets kind of gross. I mean, while realistic, it's still, like, not fun to watch.
Oops.
Robbie becomes frustrated and calls a family meeting and wants to hear each of them see things from the other's perspective. And in the exercise, they take each other's roles, and they use this to mock each other, of course.
Except for me, because I'm perfect! Your turn.
Robbie's next attempt involves having the two dress up in large, heavy padded suits and hit each other with sticks in order to work out their anger. And this surprisingly doesn't work, and Robbie decides to ground them. Oh, he prevents Miley from going to Beyonce's party as Hannah, and Jackson from going on a date to watch Panic at the Disco. The two of them get Lily and Oliver to stay in their rooms for the night and trick Robbie while Jackson drives Miley to her party and his date in Thor's truck. Lily and Oliver stay in Miley's room the whole night, but Oliver gets hungry and decides to sneak down and take hot dogs. But then when Lily comes down from Miley's room and asks Robbie for an autograph for her uncle, Oliver makes them both hot dogs. I mean, it's just so funny. Hannah's friends are a lot more dumb than most other teen sitcoms. Maybe because Miley is so intense that, like, only dumb people could follow that, I guess. I don't know. It's just funny watching them sneak around in such outlandish ways. Like, this is clearly not possible to get away with. Meanwhile, Jackson nearly hits a deer on the road, causing him to swerve and dense fog onto the edge of the cliff. The truck hangs on the edge and shifts the weight, causing it to tip dramatically. So Miley and Jackson are stuck and worried about who's going to get out of the truck first, which is kind of a dark plot. So they're basically deciding which one of them deserves to die and doesn't, which is a pretty big jump from the bathroom situation.
Don't worry, the weight of your big head will keep us balanced.
Jackson comes to help her and tries to pull her out after getting out himself, but nearly falls over, and this stressful scenario, they both end up forgiving each other and agree to stop fighting, even though they realize the cliff is 2 feet off the ground. Later, all 4 of the kids are punished, and they have to clean random objects for Robbie. So the next episode we have is My Best Friend's Boyfriend. So Lily is dating a boy named Lucas, and at first Miley couldn't be happier for her, but she does eventually feel like a third wheel and gets sick of the two of them being together all the time. Like that normal middle school relationship you have in 7th grade.
I made you a mix CD to celebrate the 9 days we spent together.
It's right there. Next to the pepper.
The soundtrack of our love.
Yeah, those were the times. But they're in 9th grade, so this is kind of more inappropriate. After telling Lily of her displeasure, Lily decides to have a sleepover with Miley, but Lucas is invited as well. So Lily makes up for it by...
That's a cute outfit, but it looks like you're about to go out with Lucas.
setting Miley up with Lucas's good-looking cousin Derek Hansen, who looks surprisingly similar to Elvis Presley. Miley is at first excited, but while they're all watching a horror movie, Derek gets freaked out super easily, much to Miley's annoyance. He even eventually jumps onto her lap, and Miley calls it the worst date of her life.
It's in there. Something's in there. There's something in there. I knew it! I knew it!
You didn't know we were having a party?
Next day, Miley sees Lucas kissing another girl, which is really crazy because it's like, why would you cheat on somebody in public at the same high school that you're also going to your current girlfriend? I just don't understand the logic there. Miley tries to prove to Lily that her new boyfriend is a cheater. Lily doesn't believe it, thinking that Miley is just jealous. Miley tries to prove to Lily that her new boyfriend is cheating on her and flirts with Lucas so he'll cheat on Lily with her.
Shh, no. Don't speak. Just kiss me. No, I'll kiss you.
Oh, okay, whoa.
When that doesn't work, she dresses up as Hannah Montana and attends a restaurant with Lily as Lola. And Lucas and Oliver happen to go to the same restaurant, and Hannah flirts with Lucas from across the room. This guy is so bad at cheating because also he's just willing to go out with somebody he knows is Lily's best friend and be kind of a snake in the middle of the date. Like, I don't understand. This guy is not being subtle at all to his cheating.
I got 2 words for you, my brother. Guy code. We are men and we are hunters. And what happens in the jungle? It stays in the jungle.
And it's kind of funny because it's like in character for Lily not to be aware of it that much. She tends to be a little airheaded. Lola still believes that he won't cheat until Lucas gets up and tries to give Hannah Montana his number.
To tell her you have a girlfriend, because, you look like the kind of guy who has a girlfriend he really, really likes.
Actually, I've got 2.
Lucas still doesn't realize that the girl he's talking to is the girl he's been kissing, just with a wig on, and admits to her that he is give up Lily in an instant. Meanwhile, these fans try to get a picture with Hannah Montana, which gets in the way of Miley's thing, but it's not that big of a deal, so it's just kind of happens on the side. Realizing her best friend was telling the truth, Lola gets mad and dumps shrimp sauce on Lucas. At the end, Miley and Lily decide to make up, and next time that either of them has a boyfriend, they should trust each other no matter what. And the controlling grandmother comes over once again, mistaking Oliver for...
My goodness, it's Natalie Portman. Lana.
In the subplot, Rico believes a store, Rico's, has been robbed and installs an expensive security system that confuses Jackson constantly. It even actually traps him various times in really concerning ways. Like, I don't know how Rico has access to this scientifically complex security system. I swear that, I don't even think the White House has this much protection. When Jackson finally decides to quit because Rico asks him to sign a liability waiver, he and Rico realize that their robber was actually just a raccoon, and Rico was taking it all too far. The title is a parody of Johnny Paycheck's song, Take This Job and Shove It. This episode also shows how Miley and Roxy met. After coming out from a concert, Miley flirts with her new dancer, Jeremy. He asks Hannah out to a movie date, but Roxy goes along with Miley for protection purposes.
Do I even need to tell you what's wrong with that sentence?
Sense of humor. That's gonna help you later in life.
Roxy ends up coming on the date and making it so much worse, and Hannah is furious with her. The next day, Hannah Montana meets the president from Cory in the House and his daughter Sophia, which is a cool nod to that series. And Roxy saves the president from eating spoiled sushi. So the president is like, oh, Robbie, we're going to offer you a job as our bodyguard. But Roxy turns him down because she wants to protect Miley, which, honestly, the best privilege for Miley, this teenage girl, is to have a security guard. Do you know how many teenage girls need security guards? This would make our culture so much safer.
Who's going to protect you from boys who are always thinking? I mean, I've had your back ever since we met down at Wig City.
Hannah and Roxy have a fight, causing Roxy to be hurt and walk out, essentially giving up her job and going to the job for the president.
Well, if that's the way you want it, then I'm happy to oblige. Goodbye, Miss Montana.
Miley later realizes that she made a mistake in angering Roxy, and to get Roxy back, Hannah makes up the excuse that she wants to teach Sophie one of her dances. So Hannah gets an idea that she could switch clothes with Lola and leave. While Lola can be Hannah and try to teach Sophie the dance moves, which Sophie ends up seeing through Lily's impressive impersonation of Miley. The president sees Miley and thinks she's a dog whisperer, and then everything gets even more chaotic as Miley has to cure his dog. Oh, so Miley pretends to be a dog whisperer and talk to the dog. She ends up putting her apology to Roxy in the ear of the dog when Roxy enters the room and realizes it's Hannah. Talking as if they were the dog and the president, Miley and Roxy forgive each other, and the president promises to spend more time with his dog due to the conversation. Miley and Roxy then return home, accidentally leaving Lily behind with Sophie. This was actually a crossover between Hannah Montana and Cory in the House. It's also the second That's So Raven and Hannah Montana crossover of the series, being the first is That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana. And this is the second episode in the season where Oliver is actually absent. And neither Miley or Lily are shown as themselves in this episode, for only like one scene where Miley didn't wear any wig in the flashback of the wig shop, but otherwise, like, they're basically their personas the whole time. We also learned in this episode that Roxy critiqued every wig Miley had chosen, and thus was the reason that Hannah went with her current wig.
I hadn't seen that much leather since your grandma got all gussied up for singles bingo.
Oh, Dad. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Now it's time for the Hannah Montana first two-part episode. That's right, things happen in this special that have not been seen on Hannah Montana thus far. Secrets are revealed, hearts are broken, who are subscribing, anything could happen. This is also one of my favorite episodes because I love the Jake Ryan specials. And after seeing Jake Ryan for about 4 episodes in the first season, knowing that he's coming back as a character is really exciting. In retrospect, it's cool they have him come back every season in Hannah Montana, but this event in particular kicks off the popularity of him all around. Up until now, Jake has just been this kind of heartthrob with kind of an ego that's storming the middle school hallways, but since then, Miley and Lily have moved on to high school, and he is just a middle school crush. Which means it's time for episodes 9 and 10 of Season 2, Achy Jakey Heart, Parts 1 and 2. The title is a reference to Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus, who plays Robbie Ray, the first episode to actually quote one of his songs. Jake finally returns since his episode People Who Use People, and he's more popular than ever with his new movie coming out and a girl he has to quote-unquote date for the public. It kind of seems a little heartless given the fact right before he left, he kissed her, and it was very clear they were going to start a relationship, so the fact that he was gone for like 6 months and just is suddenly expecting things to pick up from where they left off, and maybe just because he's a celebrity he gets permission to do that.
Not just chocolates from the sky.
So Jake falls out of the sky wearing a tuxedo, carrying a rose and chocolates, asking Miley to get back with him. Miley's still mad at Jake for everything listed, and even more irritated as Jake continues to send her lavish gifts to try to win her back. Just coming across a little desperate, Jake. You need to understand the meaning of no. Later that night, Miley sees Jake with his co-star on television in an interview with Brian Winters, where Jake accidentally says Miley's name instead of the girl he's with.
Miley.
Oh, sorry, I meant Marissa.
Wow, Jake, girls love that. Yeah, definitely ask her to prom while you're at it. This changes Miley's mind, and I think this is a great reason. Obviously, like, she has reason to be really angry with him, but I do feel like going on public television and kind of announcing your love for somebody is enough to make up for something like that. Although, I will take away the credit because he didn't do it on purpose. There was nothing intentional about this decision he made. While it really benefited Miley, it still shows Jake's character that he just expects everything to happen for him based on things he says or does. Miley ends up going to the premiere and kisses Jake in front of everyone, and now Miley is as popular as Hannah Montana since the media publicized her relationship with Jake. After that, Jake acts like the perfect boyfriend. He even names a star after her with an official certificate. As he's totally honest with her and opening up to her, he admits that
My real name is Leslie.
Leslie, right, that's good.
something that he's never told anyone ever. And at first, Miley doesn't believe it, but then accepts it's true. She feels guilty about not being open and honest with him about being Hannah Montana, and feels even worse after going to a second grade class to read about honesty and having to answer questions of the children.
Miss Montana, I'm sure you're not suggesting to a class of second graders that lying is ever okay.
No, of course not. It's just that, sometimes you have to.
And messing up more. Miley being put in the speaker scenario is always cringe, and I love that about her. She's She's just so neurotic sometimes that like when she has to use her words to make up for a situation, it always makes it worse. And I love that this is consistent throughout the series. Like never is it that she has a speech and everything goes perfectly well. I mean, the Hannah Montana movie, things went pretty unrealistically well, but you know what I mean. Meanwhile, Jackson becomes annoyed with Rico because he charges way too much for his merchandise in an extremely less thrilling plot. So Jackson, wanting to finally get back at Rico, starts his own business, which is pretty much a failure.
Well, maybe the shack doesn't have refrigeration, and the food isn't always edible, and maybe we do have a little bit of a bug problem. But the shack's got character, and like me, it's here to stay.
As Jackson and Oliver crash into each other, they accidentally create a new recipe together called cheese jerky, and they start a new business selling it. Their creation is incredibly popular, which actually does inevitably get back Rico. At the end of part 1 of this episode, we finally end on Miley revealing to Jake that she is Hannah Montana and she cannot keep lying to him. And I love that they stop us right before we could see his reaction, because when I was a teenager, this really shocked me, as Hannah Montana only revealed her secret twice, and it was the very beginning of the series. I did not expect her to do it again. But when I saw the promo for this show and knew that this was coming, I had to watch it, and was very upset when I knew that the cliffhangers happened right before his response. So I had to wait for his response for like a week.
Leslie!
Just give me a second, okay?
Or I forget however long it took for this episode to come out. I remember this is like the perfect way to set up a 2-part episode. Having like a huge reveal like this, obviously you can't just do that in a single episode. The airing of the second half of Achy Jakey Heart coincided with the release of Miley Cyrus's Hannah Montana 2 Meet Miley Cyrus, which is a phenomenal album that I've been listening to this week to prepare for this video. It was the top-selling record for that week in general. Parts 1 and 2 were the #1 and 2 best-selling TV shows on iTunes in July 2007, which is crazy because I didn't even realize we were buying TV at that time. The episode was the second highest rated program for its week, behind the premiere of the show The Closer. It was also the second highest rating ever for up until that point for a Disney Channel original series. They have a funny reference to Dancing with the Stars, in which Billy Ray Cyrus was actually in, and they call it Reading with the Stars in the 2nd grade classroom. When Oliver complains about Jackson's cheese getting in his beef jerky, he said it's not
kosher. Oh, Detective Schwartz is gonna go all sugar now.
And it's revealed that Oliver is Jewish in this moment. So then we move on to part 2 of this fun special. So after Miley reveals her secret, she and Jake share a kiss for only the paparazzi to split the two. I think Jake's reaction is kind of neutral to scared. If I were Miley, I'd be extremely concerned after seeing his reaction, although it's not as bad as Oliver's, which he will note later. Although Jake and Miley do grow closer and go on a date to the movies, but have no privacy between themselves and all of their fans. Jake and Miley leave the movie early and go back to Miley's house and are about to make out when they're interrupted by Miley's father. Whenever Jake and Miley go out in public, Jake Ryan's fans flock around them, and Miley starts to become a lot more uncomfortable, especially as Jake starts to use the popularity to his benefit.
Why don't I get us some drinks?
Okay.
Wow, I'm kind of thirsty. Do you want water, fruit juice, or iced tea?
Miley, who has groomed herself to not let the spotlight influence her, this really hits home when it comes to relationships in early high school versus late middle school. The idea of like finally opening up to somebody for the first time, you know, like that usually happens in dating and when you first like somebody. And in this scenario, the idea that Hannah Montana is a pop star and there actually is huge stakes mimics what a teenager would feel at that age. The kind of emotional weight you get or are given when you put it on somebody else in your life really changes you and the person you've told it to. You could tell that Jake seems to be shifting as a person as he struggles with the hard fact that the things he's known so far in his life may not be morally okay.
Now I'm just a regular guy. I'm a nobody, like Oliver. Brilliant. Hey!
Miley has to deal with the fact that she's actively chosen the life of not being popular and that she can't just blame Jake for her own decision. Jake is really insecure that he can't be at the level Miley has been as Hannah Montana and struggles to fit in as a normal person, although he's in pretty big denial about it.
Hannah Montana's a star too, but underneath Hannah is is a real person, and underneath Jake is...
More Jake?
And Miley gets even more turned off to his entire personality, even realizing she might have to break up with him, to which Lily and Oliver confirm. There's nothing more devastating than being in a relationship and feeling like you may not be enough for the other person, or you guys may be drifting apart, especially after you've opened up to each other. I feel like most teenagers in this day and age do repress it a lot more, but seeing Miley go through it and make the right decision to actually act on her feelings and rationalize them so quickly is a really good role model situation. Speaking of how mature she is, she doesn't really want to break up with him, so she decides to behave inappropriately wearing a giant swan dress, which, animal lovers, please close your eyes.
But first I gotta... Oh, yeah. That feels nice.
And flaunts her excessive armpit hair to the public to embarrass Jake, all in the hopes that he would break up with her. Because of how much of a diva Jake Ryan portrays himself to be, Miley is reasonably concerned that if she is to displease him or say something negative, that he will go around and tell everybody she's Hannah Montana.
We can get through this. You'll learn to not be jealous, just like I learned to be a normal guy.
Oh, sweet niblets. You don't know what a normal guy is.
And this is so culturally relevant, especially in the time where teenagers do kind of take out spite on each other a lot more than they used to. People cancel each other, people make up rumors about each other. When you're young and you're hurt, you tend to take it out on the person that was nearby. And I feel like that's really fair for Miley to be worried about that. So Jake inevitably approaches her and says, "What, you think I'm going to tell your secret? Maybe I will." Which is exactly how a teenage boy would approach this situation. I love how honest it is, and that it's not just an immediate payoff that he's like, of course I would never do that. They actually take time to reflect on. And in the end, Miley has a really long night, wondering what Jake could possibly do to retaliate from her big publicity stunt. And if I were Miley, I would not sleep at all that night. I would be terrified. Of course, Jake would do something. You know, the compatibility they once had and having it turn really dark is a really sad note. Meanwhile, Rico tries to make another attempt to steal the cheese jerky recipe and fails, and Jackson and Oliver are still making tons of money. However, they have not factored the cost of ingredients and supplies, and once they've covered all the costs, Jackson realizes that he's only made $1. So, realizing he's better off working with Rico, he actually just gets rid of the stand and just pretends it never happened.
I work here.
But I fired you.
No, you didn't.
Sure I did. And then you opened that shack.
What shack?
Gaslighting Rico into thinking none of this existed, which is kind of funny to see him go crazy, but definitely brought gaslighting into our culture in a casual way. In the end, Jake sends Miley a box with a rose inside and a note attached, and on the note, Jake wrote that Miley's words were true, and he will try to become a normal person before even going out with her again, and that he still cares about her, which I think is very admirable, especially for a boy at that age.
Let's hope it's not another actor.
He also confirms that he will not disclose her secret and signs the note as Leslie, not Jake, to show his commitment to his growth. Wow, this episode was so fun to watch again, and it really brought back memories and solidified Hannah Montana's excellent storytelling. This show meant so much to me, and I could see that it was very maturely written and played out, and of course, I related to it, and I feel for the characters. Even though me and them are all much older now, I could feel myself being transformed back to that time and feeling the emotional weight what both Jake and Miley have been going through. Okay, let's now go over some of the characters from Hannah Montana Season 2. Now, Season 1 brought us a lot of interesting sides of these characters. Season 2 is definitely where we start to see the true colors of the characters and get to know them a lot better. So I kind of want to go through them all in order and talk about how they've evolved since last season. Miley Stewart. So Miley's character starts to mature, and the stakes of maintaining her double life become a little bit more complicated as she goes into high school. A common character flaw with Miley is that she tends to lie a lot, and that is no stranger in this season. She tries to protect her relationship with people by lying. She's still likable because it's clear that her relationships are the most important, and her lies end up being about a lot more menial things. But even when she lies to Lucas and tries to get him to kiss her, like, that has to be some kind of rocky territory for her. I don't understand how she morally goes through all of this. She has a tendency to mock people like Jackson and Oliver when she's not really happy with them. And we see a side of her that could be actually kind of snarky, especially in the Cuffs episode where she purposely leaves out Lily. I mean, you took her all the way to your concert and then are ditching her? Like, why not just don't invite her to the concert? I don't know. And even with losing her voice, she's faced with a lot more challenges that test her strength. I guess she's gonna just have to keep learning that there's no easy solution to do most things, and that sometimes you're gonna have to hurt people in order to help them, especially when it comes to herself. She tends to do the easy route out of things, and of course that's always good for a main character, but it seems to put her into some interesting situations. The show delves deeper into her emotional struggles, particularly through her romantic relationships, such as her on-again, off-again romance with Jake Ryan. The two-part episode shows Miley having to choose between being honest about her identity or keeping up the Hannah Montana facade. This decision marks a turning point for Miley's character as she learns the emotional toll of balancing fame and her personal life. Miley's relationship with her father also deepens, showing her turning to him for advice as she starts facing more grown-up issues. So in season 1, Miley's relationships are relatively stable and lighthearted. Her best friend Lily is her primary confidant, and they have a strong, almost inseparable bond. Oliver, though initially unaware of Miley's secret, becomes part of the trio after discovering her double life, and Miley's relationship to her dad, Robbie Ray, is also warm and supportive as he helps her navigate the pop star career and offers advice when needed. The relationships are fun, close-knit, and revolve around her double life antics. In the first half of season 2, the dynamic between Miley and her friends begin to deepen, especially with Lily as they favor a lot of road bumps, especially with the tension of Miley, Lily, and Oliver as they try to figure out who's closer with who in this specific episode. So now we talk about Jackson Stewart. So in season 1, Jackson's primarily a comedic older brother, with his relationship with Miley being centered around sibling rivalry and teasing. Despite this, there's moments of genuine care where Jackson does show his protective side, but their interactions are largely comedic. His relationship with his father, Robbie Ray, is similarly lighthearted, and Jackson often plays the role of the goofy, somewhat irresponsible son too. Although in the first half of season 1, Jackson's relationship with Miley starts to evolve as both characters mature. While they still engage in typical sibling squabbles, there are more moments where Jackson is seen offering Miley advice or helping her out, showing a deeper sense of responsibility toward her. And as their bond continues to grow, especially as Jackson begins to face more adult challenges himself, including more mature relationships where he chooses his friend Thor over his more masculine relationships. He juggles his work and his personal life, which kind of mirrors Miley's own struggles with her double life, and we get to see more of him in the school setting. His relationship with Robbie Ray also sees some growth since then, as Jackson's given more responsibilities and begins to seek his father's guidance with less trivial matters and more real life, such as like work and relationships. And his evolving role in the family shows him growing from the comedic relief to a more mature character, though still retaining his goofy charm. And then we got Lily. So Lily in season 1 is Miley's loyal best friend. Their bond is so strong, and Lily is one of the few people who knows Miley's secret. She's supportive, protective. The friendship between Miley and Lily is lighthearted, fun, and comedic moments, with Lily playing the quirky, adventurous sidekick. Her relationship with Oliver is also friendly, but without much depth, and their interactions are mostly comedic banter. In the first half of season 2, Lily's relationship with Miley is tested in a lot of new ways. In season 1, Miley lied to Lily about her zit on the big poster, which was a big deal, which they inevitably made up. And then also, Miley jumped on the paparazzi's back to not be seen at a party without her. That was also testing their relationship, but now that they're in high school, it's a lot more intense. Lily faces challenges. Instead of just being Miley's supportive sidekick, Lily now has her own emotional struggles, which occasionally put a strain on her friendship. The show shifts as Lily develops as an individual and still maintains her loyalty towards Miley. Additionally, her interactions with Oliver evolve, creating a more emotional and less comedic dynamic between them, adding to the trio's relationship. Yeah, then we got Robbie Ray Stewart. So Robbie Ray is Miley and Jackson's laid-back, supportive dad, balancing his role as a father and Miley's manager. His relationship with Miley is primarily focused on offering advice and guidance and helping her maintain her double life as Hannah Montana. He's protective, but also gives her space to make mistakes. and always is there to offer fatherly wisdom. His relationship with Jackson is a little more comedic, often teasing Jackson and getting involved in his antics. It's kind of a buddy comedy at a lot of really specific times, and I like them together. In the first half of season 2, Robbie Ray's role as Miley's father deepens. Robbie becomes a more crucial figure in Miley's life as she grapples with her romantic entanglements and her friendship complications, helping her navigate the emotional toll of these issues, while still maintaining his protective and humorous approach. His relationship with Jackson also matures slightly as Jackson is given more responsibility at work and Robbie begins to expect more from him himself. The evolution shows Robbie taking on a more emotionally grounded role, particularly as Miley becomes more independent. Yeah, so then we got Oliver Oaken. So in season 1, Oliver is mostly a goofy and lighthearted character, providing comedic relief in his role as Miley and Lily's best friend. After discovering Miley's secret identity as Hannah Montana, Oliver becomes a part of the tight-knit trio, often helping her keep the secret. His interactions with Lily and Miley are fun and supportive, though largely focused on comedic moments rather than emotional depth. But in season 2, Oliver's relationships, particularly with Lily as well, become to evolve a lot more, especially as they struggle to find their places within this trio. Like, Miley and Lily clearly are the most close, but then when there's tension between them, it seems like Oliver is the one to go to. This marks a shift in the trio's dynamic in general, as Oliver becomes a more focused part of their group. His relationship with Miley also deepens as he continues to support her in her double life, because now he starts taking on his own persona. He starts to express interest in wanting to be... He starts to expect a lot more pity from the girls as he creates his own persona, Mike Stan, and starts coming into Miley's double life as well. Oliver himself is more involved in the drama, no longer just the comedic relief, but also dealing with his own insecurities and feelings. This makes his character a lot more emotionally grounded and adds depth to his relationships with both Miley and Lily. So then we got Rico. So Rico is finally a major character in this season, and his role becomes a lot more prominent, especially his relationship with Jackson, as it takes on more dimensions. While he enjoys making Jackson's life difficult, their interactions involve more regular comedic rivalry, with Rico showing a deeper level of cunning and persistence, while he also interacts more with Miley and the gang throughout this season, becoming more integrated into their world. His mischievous personality continues to become a source of comedy, but his presence is more central in the overall storylines, rather than just being a side plot revolving around Jackson. His antics become more outrageous, and he starts to be more of an antagonist to Miley in this season. I feel like he's a lot more fleshed out in season 2 than season 1, making him a memorable part of the Hannah Montana world, and we only getting to know him better. Overall, the characters start to go through extreme transformations as growing up, having to be more mature, tests their stability in their own lives and with each other, as well as everybody else in the show creating their own more complex layer than just Miley. I feel like in season 1, Miley was at the foreground of having a double life, especially with the album Hannah Montana Meet Miley Cyrus, a second side to everybody, and that really goes along with the theme of the second season. It's clear that the show has a lot more legs, and of course it only gets crazier and crazier from here, but it's fun to start hitting the surface with this first half of season 2. And as we see returning characters like some of Miley's teachers, now Thor is a new character for Jackson to get along with. The show is starting to grow up along with its audience, especially as all the cast enters high school. It's such a big, prominent part that they end up being in for the rest of the entire series. We also see the recurrence of a lot of really cool staple characters. For example, Roxy plays a great role in this season as we kind of learn that she was the reason Hannah Montana got her wig. We meet the president from Cory in the House, and we even learn a lot more about her relationship with her mother before she died. Of Robbie with her late mother too, Brooke Shields. This has always been lightly touched on in the first season, and I don't think they ever intended to get Brooke Shields up until this point, but it's cool that they finally filled in this gap that was left in the first season, as opposed to just kind of throwing it away like how they do in iCarly with Carly and her dad. So now that we covered the first half of the season 2 episodes and all the characters and the growth between now and season 1, I want to dedicate some time to actually talk about Hannah Montana 2, Meet Miley Cyrus, because this double-length album is so tightly coincided with season 2 that I think it's worth walking back down memory lane for it. During the production of the first season of Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus stated that Right now, we're just all really focused on making Hannah Montana, the show, as good as it can be, but hopefully in the future there could be a Hannah Montana soundtrack. She states that most of the songs for the first season reflect the show, with Miley or Hannah making sure the other doesn't get caught or whatever, saying that the tracks provided his producers with the opportunity to make sure that everybody understood the characters. By comparison, Cyrus described the material used during the second season as more speaking out to the fans. Describes Cyrus's vocals on her personal tracks as being lower and throatier with a more organic and rock-oriented instrumentation. Throughout this record, Kathy Kamen Goldmark from Common Sense Media noted that its positive, self-empowering messages for teen girls. Hannah Montana 2 continued to discuss Cyrus's double life on the program, notably in tracks like Rockstar and Old Blue Jeans, and friendships are addressed during Right Here, You and Me Together, and True Friend. The songs Nobody's Perfect, Make Some Noise, and Life's What You Make It discuss maintaining Miley's optimistic look on life. Hannah Montana 2 was later reissued as a 2-disc special edition only in Japan, and it included a remix of We Got the Party with the Jonas Brothers. So Hannah Montana 2, on disc 1 we have We Got the Party. So this upbeat anthem is about having fun and friends, which mirrors the high energy and tight-knit friendship between Miley, Lily, Oliver, especially jumping between their new personas and Miley's double life. We capture the tone of the more exciting, we're talking about the perks of being Hannah Montana and enjoying the double life for all the positives at its highest points. Then we have Nobody's Perfect, a significant theme for Miley throughout season 2. She's learning about her mistakes, especially with her double life becoming more complex, and it embodies the message of self-acceptance and resilience, especially when you create bad situations for yourself, as most teenagers do, with relationships, family dynamics becoming a lot more tough. It's important to remember that nobody is a perfect person. High energy celebrates that nobody's perfect. It's kind of like We Got the Party, but acknowledging the flaws and becoming a little bit more real. Then we have Make Some Noise. This is a really good theme for the second season, especially with Miley's constant contemplation between Jake Ryan and Achy Jakey Hart, her increased independence, and her complicated relationship toward her dad. Everything becomes a lot more difficult in her life when it comes to making decisions, and it's really important that Miley stands up for herself and, despite her imperfections, celebrates it all. I feel like it's the perfect tie-in of We Got the Party, Nobody's Perfect. Actually takes both of those songs' high energy and mellows it out to be kind of like a be true to yourself anthem. Oh, and then of course we have my favorite song, Rockstar. This is what they started with in the Best of Both Worlds tour, and it's definitely my favorite song. It's the contrast between Miley's ordinary life and the glamorous pop star identity, with her being the most confident in the more confident side of her. I see a lot of Miley struggling with balance, particularly in episodes with the Hannah Montana persona and how it affects her relationships, but at this instant we're just partying and enjoying it. Then we have Old Blue Jeans. This one has never really stuck out to me too much, and I've not paid much attention to it, but the nostalgia and simplicity in this track is it's really sweet because it emphasizes Miley's desire for normalcy, which is a recurring theme in season 2 and in growing up as a teenager. It's important to want to hold on to the past and prepare for the future without necessarily overthinking it. And I feel like Miley longs for simplicity in her life. And the show really highlights how we take normal life for granted, and sometimes even pop stars can desire to be normal, as opposed to just being herself and desiring to be at the forefront of the paparazzi. Then we got Life's What You Make It. It's a super optimistic track, which is aligning with the season's messages of personal growth and resilience, especially when she comes to conflicts with Lily and Oliver, her dad. It seems like in moments where she doesn't have as much control, this song underscores the idea that she is inevitably in charge of her choices. Although Miley Stewart tends to dodge accountability or hide from the truth, it feels like she's at her strongest when she takes accountability and embraces the choices she's making in her life. Oh, 1 in a million. So this song fits Miley's complicated romantic relationships, particularly for Jake Ryan, as she navigates her crush and the struggles of keeping her double life from affecting their relationship. The song's message of finding somebody special that really resonates with you is a important thing in Miley's emotional journey in season 2. And I'd argue that it's not only about 1 in a million in terms of romantic, it's also in terms of having that special moment in your life that you desperately want to hold on to and focusing on just that. Bigger Than Us, the theme of this track can be linked to Miley's growing awareness of how her double life affects not only her, but also her friends and family. Common within all Disney Channel shows, especially like Wizards of Waverly Place, That's So Raven, it's like the stakes are becoming so high, but when you kind of lean back on your family, it's fun to know that like love is more important than anything. You and Me Together is the song's focus on togetherness reflects Miley's relationships with Lily and Oliver particularly. Like it shows how important their friendship is, and even when tested, how Miley relies on them to navigate the complexities of her life. And while she may act like she can go off without them at any point, it does seem like she's the most vulnerable when she's with them and has a connection to them, which is a great end for the album with True Friend, which is the perfect anthem for Miley's friendships, which this season is the strongest on. The song highlights the loyalty and support she receives from Lily and Oliver and how much that means to her. Without her friends in her double life, I feel like things would not have gone so well for her. Like if Miley never told Lily or Oliver and she kind of kept it to herself, it falls in the category of refusing to grow up and kind of keeping your insecurities within. But as life does, when you grow up and you start letting more people into your life, you know, you see a better side of you. You see yourself in a true friend, and that is what I feel like the show is all about. The strength of their friendship and all the new challenges and emotional growth that no matter what, friends will always get you through. Then we have the second side. So this is cool because, you know, obviously there's a Hannah Montana album for every season, but this is the one and only season that has the Meet Miley Cyrus slide, where they take Hannah Montana so seriously that they actually do want to highlight Miley Cyrus. The whole show focuses on this girl's separate identity, like everything she does in this specific world, but actually diving back into what everything is about for Miley Stewart and her morals and everything she believes in, how that translates to Hannah Montana, you know, what Miley might be going through herself, and reminding the audience that this is definitely like one person and everybody has more than one side to them, and it's not just Miley Cyrus. And especially as the internet became more prominent, it's very clear that you do have two sides to you. And Miley is really good at teaching you how to embrace it early on. I feel like this show really helped me navigate internet culture as it became a thing, as I saw myself living a double life as online Johnny and real life Johnny, trying to take control of what is positive and what's negative, and trying to make each life about one specific thing, when really life is about just letting things happen and accepting who you are and what will naturally come. And that's my favorite part about having Hannah Montana and Meet Miley Cyrus. The nostalgia begins with See You Again. It's the track that includes Miley Cyrus's independent persona. It's excitement and nervous, and the song is always linked to Miley's like romantic feelings to having another persona, and maybe even Jake Ryan. I don't know. I feel like this is a little bit more of Miley Cyrus than Miley Stewart, and but it would be a great layer. It's a great foundation for balancing feelings and growing up. And then we have East Northumberland High, and this is nostalgic to me because it's like, of course, they finally go to high school, and I know it's not tightly correlated to each other, but it just feels a lot more relevant. The song's theme is like being interested in mirroring Miley's on-again, off-again feelings in this new environment, and it captures like the playful yet conflicting emotions that come with her romantic life. And then we have a really fun one, the Carefree Let's Dance, which is like just makes you want to get up and dance, and it reflects Miley's desire to have joy inside of her life outside of the pressures of fame. That Miley doesn't go to Hannah Montana to have fun. Both Miley and Hannah have fun in their own right, and there's both positives and negatives. And these small moments where you can just dance and enjoy yourselves with your friends is the best part of being Hannah Montana. And of course, that brings us to GNO, Girls Night Out, which is echoing Miley's need for time with her friends, particularly Lily. And as they face new relationship and friendship challenges that might be limited to individuals as opposed to an entire group, like not necessarily just about men or women, but about the urge to step away from all of life's expectations and just enjoy yourself. Having fun and letting loose is so present in these episodes where Miley and her friends enjoy being teens despite the pressures of Miley's secret life and just growing up in general. Right here is the song's message of offering unwavering support connects Miley's relationships with Lily, Robbie Ray, and throughout season 2, Miley really relies on her family, especially in episodes where she has to navigate emotional challenges. As I Am is about accepting yourself and being accepted by others, which directly ties to Miley's dilemma about revealing her secret identity to the different people in her life, and especially when she comes with internal struggles with her mom and Rico and more people in her supporting life. She needs to reaccept herself every time she meets somebody new, because as somebody comes into your life, you see new sides of yourself, and this isn't only about Miley accepting herself as she is, but also being ready for other people to accept her, and despite that, being loved for who she truly is. We have Start All Over. It's the reflection of Miley's desire to have a fresh start with her relationships as she continues to struggle with the complications of her double life. It's particularly relevant in episodes where Miley makes huge mistakes, but learns to move forward like it happens so much in this episode. Then we have Clear, which is like a really pretty song that I didn't discover until way after this album came out. It's like the theme of wanting clarity and understanding in your life. When you make that revelation that something is good or bad for you in middle or high school, it's that idea of looking through the fog and seeing something for what it really is, especially as we see Miley's back and forth experiences with Lily and Oliver. Good and Broken is a great song about like resilience and picking yourself back up when things go wrong, because Miley is just such a flawed character and she's so confident in it, especially as her emotional growth continues. She faces more personal challenges, and the track encapsulates her determination to just keep going even when things feel complicated. And then I Miss You. While this song is about loss, it can also be tied to Miley's feelings of missing the simplicity of her life before coming Hannah Montana. Not only is her mom missing the way things used to be. Overall, Hannah Montana to Meet Miley Cyrus is really good at reflecting Miley's evolving character throughout, specifically season 2. The tracks of Hannah Montana 2 tie closely with her experiences of friendship, identity, and the pressures of balancing her double life. Meanwhile, the songs from Meet Miley Cyrus offer a really deep look into Miley as an individual, beyond Hannah Montana and a little bit beyond the show. Her emotional complexity with fame and teenage life is just something people really want to know about, and I think she does a great job at storytelling throughout this album. Meet Miley Cyrus was omitted from the pre-released pressings, and Meet Miley Cyrus remained unreleased as a standalone album until January 2021, when both albums were reissued separately for the first time on digital platforms. At the closing ceremony of the 2007 Disney Channel Games, held on April 27, 2007, which was the first time she performed as herself and not Hannah Montana. And then she performed I Miss You on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and performed Start All Over, See You Again, and We Got the Party with the Jonas Brothers at the Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve in New York City. 2008, she performed GNO in the 2007 Kids' Choice Awards. But yeah, that's all we got for Hannah Montana Season 2. This is definitely one of the peak seasons for the show's development, if not one of the better seasons for sure. We've taken a major step up since Season 1, and it is so beautiful to get a new take on this. Thank God Hannah Montana was brought back, because I feel like this is where the show really found its stride. Along with the promotional material, even the 2 soundtracks, this series is become more than a franchise. It's become like a way of living. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's really good. I'm going to continue the second season of Hannah Montana with 2 more additions. Since the second season consists of 30 episodes, I really wanted to take my time and dive deeper into all of this material, as it just gets better and better from here. So thank you guys so much for listening to my video, and subscribe to Johnny 2000s for more Hannah Montana 2000s content, and so much more. Thank you guys so much, and have a great day.